Listen, men don't cheat. All right, now that I got your attention, let me explain. All right, not all men cheat. All right, yes, there are some men that unfortunately engage in this behavior all the time. All right, it's a life for them. It's what they believe is acceptable in relationships. But I want you ladies to understand that not every man walks that path. Not every man is trying to cheat. Not every man believes that cheating is okay. But you need to start to understand what types of men will more than likely cheat on you. All right. So I'm going to lay out what you need to be looking for. And let me say this. It's not a 100%. Nothing is 100%, right? But these are at least red flags that I do believe increase the chances of it happening. And you probably are best suited to address, or it is best for you to address them if you want to make sure it doesn't go down the path of infidelity. All right. So let's get right to it. Number one. Oh, and before I say number one, let me just say number 7 on this list is a big one. Huge. So I need you to watch all the way to number 7 and click that subscribe button real quick, just so you can always watch my future videos. All right. Now, number 1 on this list is a man without purpose. Now, I know you probably weren't expecting that one, but let me explain. Let me first start off with a quick story, all right? I had a client one time that I was coaching. She was overseas, international client, and she was having infidelity issues with her partner. She had just had a baby several months ago, and, she was trying to figure out what she should do. And at first it was one-on-one, and so we talked about things, but then eventually he ended up coming into the sessions, all right? And he was willing to sit down with me and be very forthcoming. So we talked about it. He acknowledged that he had cheated, and we try to figure out, okay, what's the issue here? Is it something lacking at home? Is there something you wish were different? What is it? Do you just have a strong appetite for women? And he was like, nah. And at first he couldn't explain. He's like, I don't know. I just kind of did. I kind of just fell off the wrong track. And I said, okay, no, something's not right here. So we dug deeper, and I noticed that I'm not going to say what profession he was in, but the profession he was in, I could tell he was not really happy there. I could tell that he was doing it because it was just the thing to do, all right, to make a living, but it did not fulfill him, all right? And so to get to the point of this story, what we found was the fact that he did not have purpose in his life. And please understand, success does not equal purpose. So don't confuse men doing well for themselves as having purpose, all right? So even though he was doing okay, there was no purpose in what he was doing. So there was still a void. And what was happening was he was trying to fill that void the easiest way he could, flirting with women. Because flirting with women made him feel good, made him feel better about himself, all right? Though his initial intention was not to go out and cheat. Believe it or not, for some of you, because I know some of you may question that. He was not going out with the intention to cheat. He was going out to receive validation. All right. But then what happens, unfortunately, is you start getting fed that validation, and that flirting starts to get a little deeper. Now they start to push the envelope a little bit more. And then before you know it, now it's getting into a sexual thing, or becomes a sexual thing. All right. So for him, and what I have noticed for a lot of men, is that the lack of purpose, not that it 100% means he will cheat, nor does a man having purpose mean 100% he will never cheat. But I will say that when a man has purpose in his life, he has more to lose. And because he has more to lose, he is less willing to play with fire. He is less willing to cross certain lines, all right? It can still happen to the best of people. Because I know some of y'all think cheating is just who the person is. No, and we'll talk a little bit more about that as I go along in this video. But the point is, even the best of men who have purpose, it can happen, but it decreases the chances. And the same way, but when he does not have purpose, it increases the chances because there's typically going to be a void. And women are the easiest way to fill the void, all right, if you're capable of getting women. So that's why this is kind of a red flag to be mindful of and to understand why it's so important for people to find fulfillment in their life, for people to eliminate these voids, whether it's through purpose as well as through healing. Because a lack of healing can also create voids, can also create that need for validation from others, which again can start off as just wanting validation and flirting and attention and turn into having sex and cheating and all these different things. So it's definitely something to be aware of. So a man without purpose is the type of man who is the chances of cheating gets a little bit higher. Say it like that. All right. Second on this list is a man who lacks discipline. All right. So when you're dating a man, when you're getting to know him, you want to pay attention to has he established any kind of discipline in his life. Now, I would argue that no one is perfect discipline-wise from top to bottom in every way, shape, or form. But what I have seen be consistent is that those who don't know how to draw a line in their life in different ways tend to cross that line in many ways. All right. So for example, if this man does not know how to have a limit to his drinking, that's a flag. If he's not disciplined in drink, it's not even the fact that he has drinks. He can have a drink. But if he has no discipline in even his drinking, all right, not only does it show, again, a struggle to draw a line, but also getting drunk can lead to behaving badly anyway. So that's a double negative, so to speak. All right. If hell, the way that he eats and takes care of himself, if there's no line that he draws, again, it shows a struggle to understand when enough is enough. Now, as I said earlier, and I'm going to say it again, does this automatically mean this guy would cheat? No, because he might lack so much discipline, he's too damn lazy to cheat. He's like, I don't feel like getting up and doing all that or hiding texts and all this stuff. He ain't disciplined enough to cheat right, so he ain't going to cheat. And there's no such thing as cheating right. Forgive me for saying cheat right. I'm sorry. He doesn't have the energy to cheat efficiently, okay? So he's not even going to bother with it, all right? But I do think it's something to be addressed and looked into, especially when that lack of discipline crosses the line or seeps into drinking and substance abuse and things of that nature. Because that's just probably going to lead to a lot of bad behavior overall. And you've got to be careful with that. And it's something that needs to be addressed and corrected beforehand. Now let's get to number 3. And number 3, the third type of man who will cheat on you is a man who says all men will cheat. All right. Now I'm a huge believer in this, and there might be dudes out there pissed at me for saying it, but I don't care. I'm just gonna be real. Like the minute a man says all men cheat, again, it is an increased likelihood that he is going to one day cross that line. Because understand the mentality. If he says all men include him. Like he's not saying all men but me. And who the hell thinks everybody else does it but them? No, he's saying all because he's essentially setting the stage for you to understand that this is a part of life, that this happens, and so that you should learn how to accept it and adjust to it rather than fight it. Because to him, it is a reality you're gonna have to face, all right? There are plenty of men, now, and listen, it doesn't mean, I always have to give you the other side. It doesn't mean the man who says all men don't cheat won't cheat on you, okay? I think we understand that. Some men can still, not say all men cheat and they're still gonna do it themselves. But if he does say it, I don't know how I could defend that statement. I don't know how I could sit here and say a man says that, but he ain't gonna cheat on you. He's not even considering it. You know what I'm saying? I think everyone is capable. I think it's possible, right buttons push, right circumstances. But I think that when you have the mindset of all people do something, then you're essentially saying you're going to do it too. It's the same way when people say, well, everyone has issues. There ain't a damn person that says everyone who has issues and they don't have issues. Like, they're essentially saying to you, everyone has it, including me. And you should accept that reality and learn to deal with it rather than expect me to do anything about it. That's what that statement says. And that's the same thing that all men cheat says to you. So if he says that, yeah, he's probably going to do it. Okay. All right, so now let's get to number 4. And number 4 is a two-parter that I want to throw at you. But before I give it to you, real quick, get your copy of He's Lying, Sis. All right, best-selling book. It's not about bashing men. It's about breaking down scenarios that women deal with, that there are a lot of deceit, or there is a lot of deceit and deception going on, and to help you how better navigate it. For some of you, it may be brand new information. It may be a huge eye-opener, or it may be a reminder of what you already know, or that push you needed, that confirmation you needed of what you already knew deep inside was going on in the situation that you've been facing. All right, so click the link in the description or in the comment section, or go to www.he'slyingsis.com. So now let's get to number 4. And like I said, it's a two-parter. Number 4 is he does not set boundaries with other women. And more specifically, he's unwilling to set boundaries with other women. And the reason why I had to throw in the unwilling is because I'm going to give a little room to the guy who may not fully understand what proper boundaries are with female friends. And I don't mean like female friends that he may have slept with before or their exes. I do think that there are some men out there who have women that are friends who the man genuinely thinks it's friendship, but does not realize this woman is hoping for a shot at some point. All right. And some of y'all women listen to this, you know what I'm talking about. That's why you don't like that man's female friends, because you know she's shady. You know she's waiting for her opportunity. You don't like her lingering around, and Lord knows what she's going to put in this man's head, right? But to his defense, I'm not saying he should allow that to happen. I'm not saying that's acceptable. He needs to learn how to set the boundaries. But the fact that he has not initially may actually be ignorance. All right. Maybe, and I don't say ignorance in a disrespectful way. It doesn't mean he does not know any better. He does not understand the whole dynamic, right? But if he cares about you and he's serious about you and you address it with him, I do believe that he'll be willing. All right. It may be a struggle, but I do believe he'll be willing. But you got to come at him the right way. You can't just be attacking him or accusing him. Because if you're like, oh, well, y'all doing something, he's like, no, you're crazy. You're tripping. He's going to be less receptive to what you have to say. But that's why I used or threw in there, he is unwilling to set the boundaries. Because now it is one thing for him to simply be unaware and not understand. It's another thing for you to express to him in a loving, calm manner your concern, and he's simply dismissing it and shooting it down. Now, again, does this mean he has an intention to go out and cheat? No. But what he may not realize, or he may realize, is that his unwillingness to do so creates an open door. All right. And if he does not watch it, and I do believe this, let me say this, because I do think that women always feel like men who cheat are just cheaters, that they know what they're doing, they're going after it. And I'm not saying they don't know what they're doing, but what I'm trying to get at is not every man came into the situation with the intention to cheat. Some men really don't understand how if you allow this door to open, it can lead down this path. And it can lead to things happening in a way that you weren't planning to or expecting to. That might be hard for some of y'all to grasp, but that is a reality for some individuals, all right? And yes, people get caught up in the moment. So yes, in the moment, they still made a decision to go through with it. But I know some of you have been in a moment before where you got caught up in it and you make a bad decision. It can happen to people. But to get back to the main point, his unwillingness to set proper boundaries creates open doors. All right. It's either going to create open door or it's a reflection of he just has plans to do some stuff. Like at the end of the day, some dudes ain't trying to set boundaries with any of their female friends because they're not actually female friends. Their booty partner. Booty partner is such a horrible phrase to use. They are they are sex partners. They are whatever F buddies, whatever you want to call it, right? So either way, it's a bad sign, and in either way, it needs to be addressed. But remember, I said this is a two-parter. So the second part to this is he allows women to disrespect you. So it's one thing to not know how to set boundaries or to be unwilling to set boundaries, all right? And those boundaries can vary from couple to couple as far as what you determine acceptable and unacceptable behavior or where you feel like the line should be drawn. And that's something that a couple has to discuss because it's not going to be the same for everybody. But now when we get to disrespect, and he allows these women to disrespect you as his woman, that's a horrible sign, all right? And again, does it always mean it's an automatic he's cheating? No, but that's a hell of a door to have open. That's allowing other women to disrespect your girl, that only brings into question, how much do you value your partner? How much do you respect your partner? And if you don't respect her enough or value her enough to defend her and to protect her from attacks from other women, then what is to lead me or anyone to believe that you wouldn't cheat? You know what I'm saying? Like that to me just kind of is going to lead into that at some point because there's no regard for respect of your partner. And cheating, you know, at some point can boil down to that. So I think when he's doing that, and some of y'all may say, well, what woman's going to allow that? Listen, there's a lot of relationships right now where women are dealing with men, and I hate to use the word accepting, but allowing or continuing to deal with this man despite the disrespect that she receives from him and from other women in his life. All right? And let me say this, because when I said other women in his life, something kind of hit me. Because there's disrespect from other quote-unquote female friends, acquaintances, whatever. But there's also disrespect from female family members. Now, the disrespect from female family members may be less of an indicator of cheating being on the horizon, but it's still a huge problem. And it still brings up the question of, well, how much do you really respect and value your partner if you allow any other woman, family and friends, included, to disrespect her? That's a huge, huge problem. So it's definitely a red flag, definitely needs to be addressed, and if not corrected, cheating or not, he needs to be let go. Like if he's doing all that, done. That's it, all right? If he can't fix it, done. No point in continuing. So now we are at number 5, and I predict there are going to be some men who hate me for this one. All right? Number 5 on this list is a man who thinks it's okay to be sliding in the DMs. All right. Now let me give a little background here. Again, let me reiterate: these actions do not automatically mean the man will cheat, but they do present a problem. They do present an open door, and a lot of men, especially if he's a man who lacks discipline and he's sliding in DMs, then what's to believe he will be disciplined enough to not go any further than the DMs? But even if he goes no further than the DMs, I think it's fair to say sliding in DMs is unhealthy, inappropriate behavior, all right? Unless you're sliding in for business, all right? I just have to throw it out there. Unless it's for business, that's different. But if it's not legitimate business, we got a problem here. But let's start here. Some of y'all may say, well, it's a problem if he even likes a woman's pictures. And that is your choice if that is an issue for you. And that's something that you have to discuss with your partner. The only reason why I'm not going to mention liking a woman's pictures as a type of man who would cheat on you is because, and maybe my perception is a little skewed, I feel like depending on the woman, she may never even see that like. Like the like is a very informal thing today. Unless she has such low amount of followers that she can actually even keep up, there's a very good chance she's not catching it, okay? And a like doesn't necessarily lead to anything. Most of the time, simply liking a woman, now if he's repeatedly liking all of her pictures, then we can say the liking of the pictures a little bit more moving in that direction. But a like of a picture here or there, I don't feel comfortable saying that's a really sign, because I know plenty of men who will like a picture and they're not going any further than that. But again, that is your choice to determine if that's still inappropriate behavior. Now let's go to the next level. Leaving a comment on the post. A little bit worse than the like, but again, I question how far can the comment go, unless it's a blatantly sexual, flirting, trying to get at you comment, all right? Then that's different. But again, a standard, let's just say it's a praise emoji, the two hands type of thing, right? In a sea of comments, I don't see that materializing into anything. Maybe I'm being naive, so let me just throw that out there. But I just don't see that turn anything. So likes, comments, you can still deem it inappropriate, but I'm not gonna put that in, oh well, that's like leading to cheating behavior. But once we get to DMs, right? Once we slide it in the DMs, that's a direct shot. That's a head-on hit. Like, yo, I'm here. I see you. See me. What's up? All right? Like, that's what's going on here. So, to me, again, now, is it possible for a man to do all that and still not take it further? It's possible. Yes, there are some men who like to flirt, and it may be validation, and I'm not saying it's okay. I'm not saying you should accept it. I'm just explaining that is a possible thing, right? But again, the problem is that is an open door, because if he flirts and slides in the DMs, even if he says, yo, it's harmless, I ain't trying to really get at her, I'm not trying to make anything happen. But what happens if she responds and says, hey, I think you look good. Like, I'm interested. Will he be disciplined enough to be like, nah, I was just trying to flirt, just trying to say hello. It's no big deal. Like, this is where it gets really, really risky. So DM behavior, messaging in the inbox, whatever, that to me is dangerous behavior, all right? And definitely something that needs to at least be addressed. Now, I'm just gonna throw it out there. If you are a woman who's like, it ain't a big deal to me, because it's possible there's some women who don't care, that's on you. I'm just throwing out things that are maybe typical behaviors, that may be signs. It's not a 100%, but yeah. DM sliding, that's probably a problem. Now we get to number 6. And remember, number 7 is a big one. So please hold on for number 7, all right? But number 6 type of man who will cheat on you is a man who hides you, all right? And in reality, if he's hiding you, he's probably already cheating on you. I'm sorry to laugh. Forgive me, because some of y'all may be dealing with that situation, and I don't want to make it a laughing matter. But unfortunately, yes, the hiding of you typically may indicate that he already had somebody else, that you are the side chick. So whether you call it you're being cheated on or cheated with, cheating is already occurring in the scenario. And if it's not already occurring, because maybe in some situations, this is just a reality, some men are not proud of who they're sleeping with. So they will hide that woman. They will not show that woman to the world. They will only meet in secret places and things like that. That's still a man that is not going to close off his other options. You know what I'm saying? If he's with you and he's hiding you, then he either doesn't want other women to find out about you, more than likely, or he even if he's ashamed, that means he still wants something better. There's a lot of variables going on here, but the bottom line is, like, the behavior of a faithful man is not to hide his woman. Plain and simple. And so the only caveat to that, and when I say caveat, let me break it down further. I do think there's a difference between hiding in general and hiding on social media. Now, I am not here to say that it's up to you whether you're okay to keep your relationship off of social media and to keep it private, all right? I think that's the best way to do it, to be quite honest with you. I think that's the safest way to take it. I do understand the concern that when someone engages in that, what else are they hiding? Why are they hiding? So on and so forth. And I would argue with you, or I would counter that by saying, evaluate his overall behavior. Typically, the man who hides you on social media and is doing dirt, and again, I use the word typically because there's always exceptions to the rule. typically this man is showing other unhealthy behaviors. He's not giving you what you need. There's maybe neglect in other areas. It isn't just he's perfect in every way, but he only doesn't show you on social media. That's not typically the case of the man who is trying to do dirt, trying to be shady, trying to creep in these streets, all right? So I would then say to you, the guy who is loving you, pouring into you, he doesn't hide you in his world when you're out about. Family knows about all these things. But maybe he doesn't post you all over. And maybe he doesn't ask you to post him all over. It is a possibility that he is just one of those people that wants to keep it private, doesn't want people all up in y'all business. So have that discussion. Don't just assume that that's the issue. But again, evaluate the overall behavior, evaluate the overall treatment as to what's going on here. I do understand that, yes, you could have some guys who treat you great, hide you on social media, and that's because they are doing stuff. But I don't think we should just be jumping to that conclusion. It needs a more in-depth exploration of the scenario, of the dynamic overall, to determine what's really going on here and what is his motivation behind hiding you online. But in general, if he's hiding you, then yeah, that's a really, really bad sign. And now the big one. All right, I told you to wait for number 7. I need you to hear this. I want you, before you hear number 7, to take a deep breath. Get to a really calm place, all right? Fight the urge to be triggered because it's my trigger, all right? But just follow me. If you were willing to listen to the first 6, I need you to be willing to listen to number 7, all right? So the 7th type of man who will cheat on you is a man who is being sexually and emotionally neglected. Now listen, I know that people like to make it all about the cheater. And I'm in no way saying that cheating is okay. And I know some of you will say, well, if he's being neglected or if he has to cheat, why won't he just leave? Now, let's be honest here. Let's flip this for a second, all right? And I know this won't apply to all of you, but if some of you are going to be honest with me, think about this. You as a woman, you're with a man. Let's say you've been with him for 5 years now. Let's say you guys have kids. You have bank accounts together. You have an established life together. All right. And in year 5, whether it started in year 5 or year 5 was the point that it started to wear down on you the most, you have been emotionally neglected by this man. And even sexually, in the sense of actual satisfaction. Like, he may want to have sex, but it ain't never good for you. Okay. So the sex ain't good. He's emotionally neglecting you. You bring this to his attention many times. He does nothing to correct it. It's always an excuse. It's you crazy. It's you tripping. It's this. It's that. It doesn't get fixed. Now, people could say, if you ain't happy, just leave. But we know in that scenario, it ain't that simple. I'm not saying that ideally, if you're gonna feel the need to cheat because you're being neglected here, and then you're coming across men who are trying to pour into you in the ways that you are not being fed at home, there is naturally a temptation to grab hold of that. And that temptation to grab hold of that can lead to, even if it was not the intention, it can lead to sexual relations, all right? And some people would argue it doesn't even have to get to sex for it to be cheating. But the point is, though it may be the right thing to do to leave before you cheat, I think if we're being honest, we understand it's not that simple, all right? Now, I say that, again, not to validate cheating. I say that to bring it back to the point of we've got to take a more serious approach or consideration of neglect in a relationship. So I made that example about you, but now let's flip it back to the man. You can't neglect the man, and let's start with sexually, but we're going to talk about emotionally because that's a big deal. You can't neglect the man sexually. And though I know many of you listening, may believe in sex till marriage. So whether you're putting this in the box of marriage, or if you guys are already sexually active in a relationship before marriage, whatever, you can't, once you cross that line and you being sexually engaging with each other, now pull that away, neglect him, and think everything's going to be okay. All right. Now, I understand some situations, medical situations, things like that happen. And I would argue that those scenarios, I've seen many of men be willing to be patient and understanding through things that are out of the woman's control. So it's one thing for it to be out of your control neglect. It's another thing for it to be blatant, you're just dismissing. It's the same way of the other example, the man dismissing the woman's feelings and you're dismissing his needs. You can't keep doing that. So an analogy I like to give, all right, is that imagine you're a woman and you have a child and you tell that child you can eat nowhere else but in this house. You will get fed in this house. If I catch you eating somewhere else, we're going to have a problem. All right? Day one, the child comes home. I'm hungry. Oh, I'm tired. You know what? I'll feed you tomorrow. All right? Day two, I've been so busy. You know what? I'll get to you tomorrow. Day three, day four. We are now on day 7. The child has not eaten. Child's walking home. Some person comes up to a child. Dear child, you look malnourished. Here's a sandwich. Eat something, please. Now the child knows, damn, I should not take this food. Because my mama or this lady said to me, the woman who takes care of me said, don't eat outside this house. But damn, I'm starving. Maybe a bite won't hurt. Maybe I'm just going to eat the whole damn sandwich. All right? Either way, now the child comes home and you say, how dare you? How dare you eat outside this house? But you starved them for 7 days. Now, I'm just using 7 days. However many days is too long in your relationship for going without sex, that's between y'all. What I'm saying to you is, again, we can't neglect our partner, men or women. Even though we're talking about women neglecting men right now, it goes both ways. We cannot neglect our partner and think that's okay. And think we can make excuses for that and that should be accepted. But if they do something wrong, now it's all on them. That's not right. And we have to understand we have to address these issues at the root. Now, yes, let me just say this real quick. I know some of you will say you could do all of this and they still cheat on you. Great. Yes, that's very possible. And sometimes you're just with the wrong person and there's no way around it. What I'm explaining with neglect, don't use that to validate neglect. It's one thing if you are doing your part and they still, okay, now we know they ain't worth it, leave them, all right, or we don't need to be in this relationship. But when we know we've been neglecting them, we need to acknowledge that. We need to have some personal accountability in that area. Now, I mentioned sexually, but I have to mention emotionally. I'll never forget one time a man said to me, because I had this plan to write a book all about cheating, breaking it down from every angle. And the man said to me, make sure when you write this book that you tell women a lot of the cheating does not start from sexual desire. It does not start from the man seeking out sex. It starts with an emotional void, all right? Being at home with a woman who doesn't believe in him, doesn't support him, doesn't pour into him in that way. And what happens in a lot of scenarios is that void is now being filled by another woman comes along who now pours into that man in that way. And let me tell you, there are some women out there who can they know when that man's not getting what he needs. And if she's hunting for a man, she gonna work her magic, all right? So now she's telling, oh, you so amazing. If you were my man, you know what I would do for you. All this stuff. And it's drawing him in and drawing him in and drawing him in. And again, because a lot of men don't understand how to shut the closed doors before you get too deep in, how to catch yourself before it crosses a line, some men end up now finding themselves all caught up. And now that emotional fulfillment turns into sexual desire or turns into sexual willingness with that woman. Which is why in some scenarios, y'all will notice where the man cheats on a woman and she don't even compare to the main woman, his wife or whoever. But it's because she was pouring into him in the ways that he felt the void. Now, again, I have to repeat, this is not to validate cheating. This is not to say it's okay. But I'm trying to break it down in a way that we can actually start to take a more effective approach. Because if I'm being honest, I do believe this perception of when they cheat, we just ignore the idea of neglect being involved here is sabotaging relationships. It's destroying relationships because you can't just put it all on them and not hold ourselves accountable for what we're supposed to bring to the table. All right. So all that to say, yes, I think that there are a lot of people who cheated, who thought and said out of their mouth, I would never cheat on somebody. And genuinely believe that, all right? But as I said earlier, circumstances, the buttons being pushed, the right type of vulnerability at the right moment can lead to very bad decisions, all right? And unhealthy behavior and open the door to cheating. And so though there are men out there who live that lifestyle, who they believe that's what they do, and they probably will line up with a lot of the other things I mentioned earlier in this video, there are some situations where that was not his core character. That's not what he believes in, but there's a position he found himself in, and he's the line he found himself crossing. Doesn't make it okay, needs to be corrected, needs to be addressed. But we have to take neglect very seriously and understand that how that plays a role in our relationships going in the wrong direction. Hey, thank you for watching this video. Be sure to check this one out right here, and I'll see you there. I pray you receive the man who wants to love you, not just use you. And the reality is that there is a man out there for you. There is a man who wants to cherish you, honor you, and is going to fall